She opened the door before I could knock twice. And for a moment, I forgot what I was there for. Her name was Claire, though I didn't know that yet. Not officially. She stood barefoot on the threshold, one hand gripping the edge of the door, the other brushing back a strand of hair that had fallen loose. The hallway light caught the silver at her temples, soft and deliberate, like she'd made peace with time instead of fighting it. "Delivery?" she asked, voice low, patient. I nodded, adjusting the paper bags in my arms. My throat was dry for no reason. She stepped aside. "Kitchen's just there." Inside smelled like citrus and something faintly floral. The kind of house that felt lived in, not staged. A scarf tossed over the back of a chair, a half-read book by the sink. She walked ahead of me, not looking back, but aware of me. I could tell from the way she slowed near the counter, waiting for me to catch up. When I set the bags down, our hands brushed. Just a second, the kind of contact that shouldn't mean anything. But it did. She pulled her hand back too quickly, as if even she was surprised by the static between us. "Thank you," she said, almost too quietly. I shrugged, trying to sound casual. All part of the job. But I didn't move. Neither did she. The clock on the wall ticked loud enough to fill the space. Her gaze lingered on me, not studying, not testing, just noticing. And in that pause, I felt seen in a way that didn't happen often. "Long day?" she asked. "Could be worse." She smiled, small and tired. "They usually are." Something about the way she said it, half to me, half to herself, made me want to ask more. About the book, the half-empty glass of wine on the counter, the silence humming under her words. But she was older, elegant in that quiet, unapproachable way. The kind of woman who made you watch your tone, your posture, your heartbeat. I shifted my weight, tried to remember I was supposed to leave. "I can take the bags out for recycling if you'd like." Her lips parted, hesitation, maybe surprise. Then she nodded. "If you don't mind." The simple task turned strange with how close we kept getting. Each time I reached for something, she was there too, her arm near mine, her perfume faint but warm, like honey and rain. The air thickened between us until even small movements felt like choices. When the last bag hit the bin, she let out a quiet laugh. "I didn't think you'd actually do it. Guess I'm thorough." She leaned against the counter, arms folded, eyes still on me. "You don't look like most delivery guys." Meaning you notice things." I didn't answer. Not out of arrogance, I just didn't trust my voice to sound normal. Because she was right. I did notice things. The tremor in her hand when she reached for the glass. The faint indent on her ring finger. The way her laughter didn't reach her eyes. Before I could think of what to say, another voice called from down the hall. A lighter, teasing one. "Claire? Who's that with you?" The moment snapped. She straightened, glanced toward the sound, then back at me. Her eyes saying something her mouth didn't. "Just the delivery," she said. But her tone wasn't convincing. And then came the soft sound of footsteps, drawing closer. She didn't tell me to leave. She didn't have to, but I still didn't move. The footsteps stopped just outside the doorway. And when the second woman appeared, smiling like she already knew the answer to some unspoken question, I realized this delivery wasn't over yet. The second woman turned out to be her sister, younger, sharper, with that kind of teasing confidence that fills a room. She chatted while I tried not to look at Claire too long. But I felt her presence in every word I didn't say. When I finally left, the air outside felt cooler than it should have. I should have just gone home, but halfway down the street, I realized she still had my pen, the one customer signed with. A small, stupid excuse, but enough for me to turn back the next evening. She opened the door slower this time. "Oh," she said. "Back again. Forgot this?" I lied, holding up the extra pen I'd brought just in case. She smiled, that small, knowing kind of smile that meant she saw through it but didn't mind. "Well," she said, "you might as well come in. I was just making tea." The house was dimmer, softer. The radio played something low, an old song that sounded like memory. She moved around the kitchen easily, in a loose sweater that hung off one shoulder. It wasn't intentional, but it didn't need to be. Everything about her felt effortless, practice through years of being seen and pretending it didn't matter. I sat at the table, tracing the rim of my mug. "You live alone?" I asked. She paused, pouring water. Mostly. My daughter's away for school," she said. "House feels too quiet sometimes." I nodded, not sure what to do with that. Silence settled again, heavy but comfortable. She sat across from me, elbows on the table. "What about you? You in school?" "Was. Not anymore. Dropped out." I gave a half shrug. "Needed to work. My mom got sick a couple years ago. Things just shifted." Her eyes softened, almost imperceptibly. "I'm sorry." "It's fine," I said quickly, though it wasn't. "She's better now." We both looked down at our cups, steam drifting between us like something alive. "You're young," she said finally. "You shouldn't have to carry all that yet. Guess no one really gets to choose." When I looked up, she was studying me again, that same quiet, searching gaze from before. I felt my chest tighten, like my heartbeat was caught between wanting and restraint. Then she reached across the table, fingertips brushing mine. Just barely. It wasn't bold, it was hesitant, almost shy. But it burned all the same. "I didn't mean to pry," she said softly. "You didn't." Her hand stayed there a moment too long before she drew it back, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. We talked after that, about small things, nothing that mattered. The weather, books, the smell of rain on concrete. But between every sentence was something else. A pull neither of us wanted to name. When I stood to leave, she followed me to the door. Her shoulder brushed my arm. A small electric contact that felt accidental but wasn't. I turned slightly. "Claire!" She met my eyes, her breath shallow. "You should go before I forget to let you." For a second, neither of us moved. Then she stepped back, hands still on the doorframe, as if to steady herself. And in that stillness, something between us silently decided. This wasn't the last time that IT started with a message. A week after that night, Claire texted me, short, careful words. "If you're in the area, I could use help carrying something heavy." No emojis, no pretense. But her timing, 8:42 p.m., said everything. I showed up 20 minutes later, half expecting the door to stay closed. Instead, she opened it before I could knock. Again. Inside, the lights were dim, the same song playing softly in the background, the one from before. She nodded toward a box by the window. "That's the one." It wasn't heavy. I lifted it easily, pretending it was. "You could have managed this," I said. "I didn't want to." Her voice was light, but her eyes weren't. Something inside me stumbled. She stood close enough that I could smell the faint trace of her perfume, warm, familiar. I set the box down, but she didn't move away. The silence thickened, the kind that feels like gravity. "You shouldn't keep showing up like this," she murmured. "You asked me to." "That's not what I meant." Her hand brushed mine as she reached for the box. Not a full touch, just the back of her fingers grazing my skin. My pulse kicked hard enough to feel it in my throat. "I don't want you thinking," she began, but her voice caught. "Thinking what?" "That I'm someone who—" She stopped. Her jaw tightened. "It's complicated." We both knew what she meant. The age gap, the neighborhood eyes, the whisper that would follow if anyone saw us like this. Her, the woman with a grown daughter. Me, the delivery guy who stayed too long. The radio crackled. Static for a second. Then the sound of a phone vibrating on the counter broke the moment clean in half. Her sister's name lit up the screen. Claire flinched. "I should—" "Go ahead," I said, but my voice came out lower than I meant. She answered, stepping aside. I caught fragments. "Just home. Yes, I'm fine, nothing. Just unpacking." Her tone was steady, practiced. I shouldn't have been listening, but I couldn't look away. The way she leaned against the counter, head tilted down, voice softening when she said my name in a whisper she thought no one heard. When she hung up, she exhaled long, heavy. "Sorry," she said. "She worries." "It's okay." But it wasn't. Not anymore. I took a step toward the door, meaning to go. She reached out instinctively, fingers grazing my forearm, stopping me. Don't, she said quietly. I turned. The distance between us was gone. A breath, maybe less. Her eyes flicked to my mouth, then back up. For a heartbeat, everything froze. The hum of the fridge, the soft hiss of rain outside, the uneven rhythm of two people standing too close to pretend anymore. Could have leaned in. She could have let me. Instead, she closed her eyes and whispered, "We can't." But neither of us stepped back. The storm outside cracked. A flash of light through the window, and still, her hand stayed on my arm, trembling slightly, refusing to let go. We stood there, caught between guilt and wanting, knowing the moment we broke apart, it would only pull us closer next time. Rain hadn't stopped for 2 days. The streets outside her house shimmered under the glow of passing cars, and when I showed up soaked to the shoulders, she didn't look surprised. She just stared for a moment, a long, unreadable stare, then stepped aside. "Come in," she said. Her voice was calm, but her hands weren't. Water dripped from my jacket onto her floor. I started to apologize, but she cut me off. "You'll catch cold if you stand there." She grabbed a towel from the hallway, pressing it into my hands. Our fingers overlapped for an instant, too long to be accidental. "Thanks," I murmured. She turned away, but I could see it. The stiffness in her shoulders, the way she avoided meeting my eyes. Something in the air was different tonight, sharp-edged and restless. "You didn't call first," she said quietly. "I wasn't sure you'd answer. I might not have." "Then why'd you open the door?" Her silence said everything. I followed her into the living room, the sound of rain muffling the space around us. A blanket lay tossed on the couch. A candle burned low beside a glass of wine half empty. She looked tired, beautiful, completely unguarded. "I shouldn't keep letting you in," she whispered, almost to herself. "Then tell me to go." She looked up, eyes darker than I'd ever seen them. "Don't tempt me." For a moment, neither of us breathed. "I can't stop thinking about you," I said, the words spilling before I could stop them. "Even when I try, especially when I try." Her lips parted, but no sound came out. She took a small step forward, then another. "Don't," she said again, but this time it wasn't a warning. It was a plea. When I reached out, my fingers brushed her wrist. Her skin was warm, pulsing faintly, like the space between heartbeats. She didn't pull away. Her breath trembled. "You're too young. This is wrong," I said softly, "or just hard to explain." She closed her eyes. I could see the fight happening behind them, all the years, the reasons, the fear of what this meant. When she opened them again, something had cracked. "Do you have any idea," she said, voice breaking, "what it's like to want something you can't even admit out loud?" I stepped closer. "Yeah, I do." Her hand came up, fingers brushing the back of my neck, light as air. I felt her exhale against my chin, her forehead leaning just barely against mine. The candle flickered, casting gold over her face. I could smell the wine on her breath, feel the tremor in her voice when she whispered, "We're going to regret this." "Maybe," I said, "but not yet." The air between us burned, that fragile inch of space, charged and alive. Then came a sound, sharp, sudden. A car door slamming outside. Footsteps on the porch. She froze. Her hands slipped from my neck, but not before I heard her whisper, barely audible, "Don't say anything." The knock came. 3 quiet raps. We both turned toward the door, hearts pounding, still caught in the gravity of what almost happened. And for the first time, she didn't tell me to hide. The knock echoed again, softer this time, but sharper somehow. Claire's breath hitched. Then came a voice through the door. Familiar. Female. "Claire? You left your phone at my place. Thought you'd need it." Her sister. Every muscle in Claire's body went rigid. She turned to me, eyes wide, panic flashing for just a heartbeat before she pulled herself together. "Stay here," she whispered. Her voice shook, just barely. She opened the door halfway. The hall light spilled in, yellow, unkind. Her sister smiled, holding up a phone. "You'd lose your head if it wasn't attached." "Thanks," Claire said, too quickly. Her sister's gaze slid past her shoulder, toward me. Oh! The pause hung like smoke. I could feel Claire tense from across the room. She didn't turn around. He was helping with the boxes. I nodded stiffly, trying to look harmless. Evening. Her sister smiled, polite but sharp at the edges. You're back again. Yeah, just helping. She hummed in that way people do when they're filing something away for later. You always were generous, Claire. When the door finally shut, Claire leaned against it, eyes closed. For a moment she didn't move, didn't even breathe. She knows, I said quietly. She suspects, she whispered back. That's worse. She pushed away from the door and brushed past me, her shoulder grazing my chest, the scent of rain and wine following. You shouldn't have come tonight. I didn't plan to. Then why are you here? Because you wanted me to be. That stopped her. She turned slowly, eyes searching mine, as if she wanted to argue but couldn't find the lie to do it. Something in her expression cracked. Exhaustion, fear, maybe something deeper. You think I don't want this? I think you're trying not to. Her lips parted, the smallest tremor. Then she exhaled hard and looked away. You don't understand what this costs me. Then tell me. She shook her head, pacing. My daughter comes home next week. My sister already suspects something. I've worked years to keep my life quiet. Simple. I stepped closer, my voice low. And now, she stopped moving. The space between us vanished again. Now, she said. I can't stop thinking about how it felt when you touched me. The words hit harder than they should have. Her hand trembled at her side. I caught it before she could pull back, our fingers locking by reflex. She stared down at our joined hands, then up at me, eyes glassy but unbroken. This isn't what I planned. I don't think either of us planned it. We stood there, the weight of the secret pressing between us, heavier than guilt, lighter than air. Finally, she whispered, You should go before I make it worse. I didn't move. Her jaw tightened. Please. I released her hand, but when I turned toward the door, she spoke again. A quiet, breaking confession. She wasn't supposed to see you. I looked back. Who? My daughter. Silence. She came by last night. I didn't tell you because I thought it wouldn't matter. Her voice faltered. But she asked who you were. My heartbeat stumbled. What did you say? Claire's eyes met mine, raw, unguarded. I told her I didn't know. The air between us fractured. Attraction twisted now with something sharper. She took a step forward, close enough that her breath grazed my collarbone. You should go, she whispered again. But when I turned this time, she caught my wrist, holding on like it hurt to let go. Tomorrow, she said. Come back tomorrow. And I knew then. She was done pretending this could stay hidden. The next evening, the rain finally stopped, but the air still held that damp heaviness that lingers after a storm, the kind that makes everything feel closer than it should. When I reached her door, she was already waiting. No pretense this time. No excuses. Just quiet. Come in, she said. The house was dark except for the faint gold light from the lamp by the window. She wore a simple sweater, her hair pulled back loose, a single strand falling over her cheek. She looked tired and certain. You shouldn't be here, she said, though her voice lacked conviction. You asked me to come. I know. She moved toward me, slow but steady. Every sound, the creak of the floor, the hum of the refrigerator, seemed too loud. Her hand brushed the door as she passed, leaving it half open, as if she couldn't decide whether she wanted escape or confession. You lied, I said softly. She froze. About your daughter. You told her you didn't know me. Claire looked at me, eyes sharp, wet at the edges. I panicked. I get that. No, you don't. She stepped closer, her voice breaking. You think this is simple, that we can just... She stopped, breath catching. You have no idea what I've risked even letting you back in. I took another step. Then why did you? Her eyes flicked to my mouth, then back up, and for a heartbeat she didn't answer. Because I wanted to see if I still could. she whispered. That hit harder than I expected. I was close enough to see the small pulse in her neck, the tremor in her hands. I wanted to touch her. Not out of hunger, but out of some desperate need to anchor the moment, to make it real. You can, I said quietly. Her breath left her in a shiver. You don't know what you're asking for. I'm not asking, I said. I'm here. The distance between us vanished. Barely an inch of air separating us. Her fingers hovered near my collar, trembling. She looked up at me, her expression equal parts fear and wanting. I don't want to ruin you, she said. You won't. She laughed, soft and broken. You're too young to know what that means. Her laughter faded into silence. She reached up, brushed the strand of hair from her face, and before she could drop her hand, I caught it, held it against my chest. We stood like that, barely breathing. Then she leaned forward, just enough for her forehead to rest against mine. For a second, the whole room disappeared, all the rules, the years, the reasons, just her heartbeat, quick and unsteady, syncing with mine. She whispered, "If we do this, everything changes." I know. Her lips parted, close enough that I could feel her words against my skin, not hear them. Then choose, she said. My hand found her waist, her fingers curled into my shirt. Two people holding on, both already knowing the answer. But when our mouths were a breath away, she pulled back. Not with fear, with resolve. I can't lose myself again, she said, her voice steady now. Not even for you. And though she stepped away, something in her tone told me we hadn't broken. We just found the truth inside the wanting. She looked at me one last time. Now you understand, she whispered. And I did. Completely. Weeks passed before I saw her again. Not for lack of trying. I walked past her street more times than I'd admit, always telling myself it was coincidence. But Claire had disappeared into silence, and I told myself that was what she needed. Then one late afternoon, as the air began to cool toward evening, she opened her door again. No makeup, no armor, just her, in a soft gray sweater and jeans, holding a mug that steamed faintly in the golden light. You look surprised, she said. I wasn't sure you'd want to see me. I wasn't sure either. Her voice carried no tension this time, just quiet honesty. But I kept thinking about that night, about what we almost did, and what we didn't. I nodded, not trusting words yet. She gestured for me to come in. The house looked the same, but felt different. Less guarded, more lived in. There were flowers on the counter. A photo of her daughter smiling from a frame by the window. I thought I'd regret stopping, she said. But I don't. I just regret not saying what I meant. I leaned against the wall, waiting. She looked at me, steady now. You made me feel seen again, and that scared me more than anything. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. You weren't the only one scared. Something softened in her eyes. A small, almost invisible surrender. She crossed the room, slow, deliberate. When she stopped in front of me, she reached up and touched my face. Not tentative this time, but gentle, sure. Her hand lingered there, her thumb brushing my cheek. You deserve something simple, she whispered. Maybe simple isn't what I want. She smiled, a real smile, small but alive. You say that now. Her hand slid down, finding mine. Our fingers laced together like they'd been trying to remember how. We stood there in that late light, saying nothing. No grand gestures, no declarations, just warmth. I don't know what this is, she said softly, but I want to find out, without hiding. Then let's start there, I said. We ended up sitting on the couch, shoulders touching, the quiet kind that doesn't need filling. She leaned into me, resting her head against my shoulder. The world outside kept moving. A dog barking somewhere down the street, a car passing. But inside, it finally felt still. Her fingers played absently with mine. You know, she murmured, you never really did finish that grocery delivery. I laughed quietly. Guess I had to make sure you got everything you needed. She tilted her head, smiling against my shirt. Careful. You're dangerously close to charming me again. Too late, I said. She looked up, eyes soft, unguarded, and I kissed her forehead, slow, steady, the kind that doesn't ask for more, just promises to stay. The silence that followed wasn't awkward anymore. It was peace earned, imperfect, real. And when she whispered, "You can stay a while if you want," I already knew I would. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?